Have you guys heard of the woman that unalived 115 people by the orders of a dictator? She was caught, sentenced to... However, she managed to dodge. She married a bodyguard. Until today, she's on the run. We're talking of none other than Hyon Hui, aka Mayumi. By the end of this thing, you'll see why I call her Mayumi. But don't worry, let's get into it. You see, for you to understand what is going on, we should know that this is 1987. As of that time, yeah, South Korea was just about to host the Olympics. It was a beautiful time for them. After all, they had gone through a lot of ups and downs with North Korea. You know, they had gone from a state that was all rubbles, and now they had skyscrapers, buildings, beautiful houses, beautiful roads, cars and all that, and they wanted to display all this beauty to the rest of the world. And so they were about to host the Olympics. However, North Korea would not have it. They were like, we are the superior ones here. We are the superior Koreans. So locking, the case gets juicier. As of that time, Kim Jong-il was like, South Korea, I don't like them at all. Yeah, somebody take care of South Korea for me. Yes, somebody. And there was this guy, we're going to call him the director for the purpose of this, this show. We're going to call him the director. Now, the director was like, don't worry, boss, I got you. And so he went to a particular home and he knocked upon the door. He was like, yo, Papa Mayumi, are you in? Yeah, Mama Mayumi, are you in? Yeah, we in. And he opened the door and the director walked in. He was smart, he was gentle, and he was like, your house smells good. It's good in here. And Papa Mayumi was like, yes, welcome, sir, Mr. Director. What can we do for you? He was like, yeah, I am here for your daughter. Where is Mayumi? And I was like, oh, she's over there. I was like, bring her over. And Mayumi came. Now, a little bit about Mayumi. You see, from when she was little, you know those little girls that will carry flowers all the way to the dictator, and they'll be like, for you, great leader. And they'll be like, yes, little one, how are you? That kind of thing. That was what she used to do from a very young age. However, the director noticed something that was very useful about Mayumi and was useful to the state of North Korea. She was beautiful. And as we know, beauty is an asset states like North Korea could use to their advantage. And so the director was like, you know what, we're going to take her to get trained. And Papa Mayumi was like, to get trained? And we're like, yeah, it's for the great leader. All hail the great leader! All hail the great leader! And then the director took Mayumi, little Mayumi. Yeah, she was already 18 as of this time. He took her for training. Now you see, this is special training in North Korea. Yeah, the way they do things there. They teach them everything, how to unalive people, how to speak multiple languages, and how to, of course, set booms, if you know what I mean. Yeah, this part is very important. Take note of it. So now she's already around 22 years old, 23, and it is time for that task. Like I said, 1987, South Korea were about to host the Olympics in 1988. So they needed to do the job fast. The entire goal was to ensure that they scared people from coming from the Olympics. After all, if there was problem in South Korea, who would want to go there? Nobody. Only naturally. And so the plan began. The director took young Mayumi into a particular room, and then another old man entered through the other side. This old man, for the purpose of this show, we're going to call him Granddad. Yeah, Granddad entered, and Mayumi was in the room, and then the director looked at them, and he took his cigarette. He was like, yeah, so I'm going to tell you how two of you is going to go. Yeah, Granddad, you're going to be in charge of this mission. Mayumi, you are going to follow his lead. Now, for this purpose of this mission, you are a father. You need people to be a father and daughter combo kind of thing. So you guys be better, be close. And they were like, yes, sir, yes, sir. And he was like, hail leader. And everyone was like, hail the great leader, hail the great leader, hail the great leader. And the mission began. That travels, and honestly speaking, I'm a bit jealous of this travel, because they went all the way from Pyongyang to Moscow. You know, they were acting like they were on holiday, they were flexing, they were chilling, there was cash in the air, they were partying, that kind of thing. And from Moscow, they moved to Budapest, and from Budapest, they moved to Vienna, and then to Belgrade, and finally to Baghdad. And it was in Baghdad that they met these field operatives. You know, these countries, they always have those people that are in the field, in other countries, that kind of thing. And these field operatives, Operative A and Operative B, they worked smartly. They worked towards Granddad and Mayumi. They were like, yo, we have packages for you too. And they were like, hail the great leader. Everyone was like, hail the great leader, hail the great leader. And so they handed Granddad and Mayumi this particular package. Now, it was a briefcase. Inside this briefcase were certain items. Number one, a Panasonic radio, which was actually supposed to be used as a timer for this push. Also military grade boxes of C. It is what you think it is. That's what it is. Now, she was supposed to set this Panasonic radio in between the blocks and then set it for it to go boom, boom. Aside that, there was also another bottle of liquor in quotes. It was a Picatinny explosive. It was acting like a wine, like I said, wine bottle, alcohol bottle, anyone, forget about it. And so she was given these particular items, and then she took them on board the plane. However, before she got to the plane, you see, while they were checking, before you enter into the plane, they'll check it, they'll search for you, all those kind of things, they'll search into your briefcase and all those kind of things. When she was about to pass through the checkpoints, one of the guys were like, wait, please come back. We noticed in this your particular briefcase, you have a call, and then what are you carrying in your hand luggage? And she was like, no, it's just my Panasonic radio. I was like, no, Panasonic radio, we don't do that here. Please remove the batteries from inside. And then Mayomi turned and she looked at Granddad, and Granddad looked at her. They both knew that without the batteries, that boom boom will not go boom boom. And so all of a sudden, Granddad stepped forward. Was like, excuse me, please excuse me. I am an old man. I need this Panasonic radio. It helps me with the news and all that stuff. And he was so pitying, looking and all. And the guy looked at him. I was like, sir, normally we don't allow this kind of thing, but I understand. Please get on board. That was a mistake. If that guard had done her duty well, 115 lives could have been saved. Regardless, before they boarded the plane, Mayomi went into the toilet where she set the Panasonic radio and the C, together with it, and then she flipped the switches and set the timer. Careful, she has been practicing for a long time, all these things. Like I said, she went to that school where they taught them to be spies and explosive, all that. And so she knew what she was doing. And after setting it, she was a bit nervous, her fingers shaky. After all, if she did anything wrong, it was going to explode before it was time. However, she was lucky. Nothing happened. And so she took it and she boarded the plane, and then she placed it on the overhead bin here, over her seat. She placed it. Now, this particular flight was going to Abu Dhabi, and it was a joint flight. So from Abu Dhabi, it was supposed to go to Seoul, that's South Korea, and eventually the plane moved. And throughout the entire flight, Mayomi was scared. She could not sleep. Her fingers were sweaty and shaky, and Granddad held her legs and was like, shh, calm down, granddaughter. Calm down. Don't worry. It's all nice. It's all good. It's all good. It's for the great leader. And she was like, yes, for the great leader. And then eventually they reached Abu Dhabi. And then Granddad and Mayomi, they stepped down from the plane. Along with them were other people, 13 other people that came down from the plane. Meaning the only people remaining in the plane were mostly South Koreans returning home. As that plane moved in the sky, and the timer went off, the plane crashed. Meanwhile, Mayomi and Granddad saw the news, saw their plan at work, and they wanted to run away. Now, did I mention that they were acting as Japanese tourists on holidays? And so they needed to find their way back to their home country. But somehow there were complications and they could not go to Rome directly, which was part of their escape route. So instead, they redirected their escape to Bahrain, and that was where they laid low for some time. We're talking of around 3 days for their flights to set, and they'll go to Rome. And so on the 3rd day, they were ready early in the morning. Mayomi and Granddad, they took their things. They did not even eat breakfast. They were in a hurry to run away, and then they rushed to the airport. However, while they were checking in, checkpoints, this time around, things were far different. There was already a plane in trouble. Flight 858, the one going to Seoul, Korea. And so all airlines were sharp. Everybody was like, what is going on? They were sharp. And that was why they were caught. Because at this particular guard post, nobody was letting shit happen. Everybody's eyes were peeled. And so when Mayomi walked forward with Granddad, and they were like, let's see your passport. And Mayomi brought out her passport. And she gave it to the guard, and the guard collected it. It was like, You were on flight 858. Miami nodded. And you are going to Rome. Miami nodded. Yeah, where are the guards? Come here, come. And they came and they hooked Granddad and Mayumi, and then they brought them to a corner. And we're like, yeah, we're going to question you guys a bit. Just sit right here. However, before the questioning, Granddad brought out a particular pack of cigarettes, and he opened it and he looked at Mayumi and was like, yeah, baby girl, you take one. And she took it from him and he took one. You see, this particular cigarette was part of the things given to them back home. Yeah, at the tip of the cigarette was cyanide. The plan was to put it in their mouth and so that they will, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so Granddad took it and was like, for the great leader. And she was like, for the great leader. And he bit into it and immediately started convulsing on the ground and rolling, and he died. And Mayumi saw this and she was scared. Regardless, she took the cigarette and she was like, and just when she bit into it, a guard saw her and noticed and rushed over and smacked it out of her hand, and just a little got into her system. And when she was convulsing on the ground, they immediately rushed her into the hospital, and then they treated her and all that stuff. And after treating her, they waited a couple of days to get a confession out of her. But Mayumi, her mouth was she would not talk, she would not say anything. And then they were like, you know what, how about we hand over this case to South Korea? Yeah, the National Intelligence Agency. Yeah, those guys, they are good, they are very, very good. And they handed her over to them. If you know intelligence agencies, you will know that these guys, they don't joke. And remember, 115 people just died. They would have used any form of method, you know what I mean, to get information out of her. However, they were more strategic with this. What they did was they took Mayumi around the city of Seoul, and they let her see the tall buildings and the people, and they let her see the freedom that women had, how they could dress, how they could express themselves, how they could find love, how they could be happy, and how they were smiling. And Mayumi looked and she was like, oh. This is not what they told us in North Korea. They told us you guys are the bad guys, you guys are suffering. Yeah, the great leader told us that your life is miserable and all those kind of things. And we worship the great leader over there. But you guys are enjoying life. And then they were like, yeah. Are you going to confess now? Mayumi was like, yes, I'll confess, I'll tell everything. And so she spilled the beans. She said everything and how the plan worked and how she was sent by Kim Jong-il and all those kind of things. So after she confessed and all, it went on national news and everybody knew that she and Granddad were the ones that did this particular crime. Now remember, the victims of that particular plane, they had family members, and the family members were calling for her head and all that kind of stuff. And so eventually she was sentenced to. However, the president thought of it, was like, I have a better plan. You see, the president that time was very, very smart, very, very smart man. And he was like, you know what, how about this? Baby girl, we are going to let you go free. However, you are going to work for us here in South Korea against North Korea. And that was how she was given a presidential pardon. She eventually wrote a book and then wrote a story. Yeah, I will just put it up here so that you guys can see. She wrote a book, she wrote a story and all that kind of stuff. And she still works for the South Korean government till today. In fact, she also married a guard, and they live happily ever after. However, they are in hiding currently. Because North Korean spies are everywhere, and if they find her, they will definitely unalive her. But that's basically the story of how a woman unalived 115 people, a terrorist, and got away with it. Yeah, make sure to subscribe and follow for more stories.